Okay, got it going. So let's do the disclaimer. This is Simon with Trade and Perform Coaching. Uh, Nothing in this video should be taken as a trading recommendation. Trading futures is dangerous. You can lose your ass. And check with an investment professional before trading futures. Remember, everyone's risk is different, right? My risk may not be the same as yours. Another trader's risk may not be the same as yours. Therefore, you have to tailor the trade to your own needs. And any trades we discuss here are for educational purposes only. Okay, let's get started. I hope everyone had a good day. I know I had a good day. And let's bust out, first of all, with the most basic question, which is, what was the range out of the gate? Did we have any clue as to what kind of day we would have? And if we look closely here, let me get my drawing tool up really quick. There we go. Okay, don't want quite that yet, but pull it in. And actually, let's just get it without the support resistance zones. Let's just get a blank chart up here to work with. Okay. So the first thing we want to know every day is, first of all, what type of opening did we have? And was the range wider or narrower than the prior day? It can give us a big heads up as to which way the market's going to trade. So right out of the gate, we talked about it. We had a range from, in the first half hour, from roughly, let's just call it 2094 to 2088. 6 points of range, right? Let's compare that to the prior sessions. We had, and again, within the first hour, that expanded just slightly, but pretty much 6 points. If we looked yesterday, we had a range from 2098, and the low on that was 2092, 6 points, and we had balance, right? Until we got news that took us out of balance yesterday, right? We had 6 points today. Pretty easy to look from these two things and go, okay, no expansion in range. We're going to expect balance. What's the first thing that should be going through your mind after you identify narrow range? Okay, I know on balance days that new highs are going to most likely get pushed back into the middle, and new lows, right? So I know from the edges, if I look at yesterday, new lows pushed back up. New highs, at least relative to this structure, usually we would have wanted it to poke its head up a little bit more, but pushed back down. We'll pretend for a second, right? So let's translate that to today. We established a high and a low really within the first hour right here. This will be our structure, right? Push to a new high, textbook, pushes to a new high, gets sold back into the middle, in this case all the way to the other end of the range, right? We push to a new low, push back up, right back into the middle, and that's where it sits, right? The other thing that we know on balance days immediately that should be helping us out is whether or not we want to stay, whether or not we want to trade in the middle. If we have a balanced day, we know that the middle is the most deadly place to trade. There is no reason to be in the middle, and so therefore we just don't trade there, right? The other thing that we know is we need to have, this is a slow race car driving parlance, but still I think it's effectively the same thing. Slow hands versus fast hands. We want to have slow hands in a balanced market. We want to be patient, right? So now let's review the actual, how did that play out through the course of the day? So if we look, new highs, pushed back in, new lows, pushed back up, and then if we continue going through here, we look, we came down, we pushed to a new low right here. What does it do? Pushes right back up. We push to a new low again, a little bit bigger stretch, but not a lot, right? This is 2086, this is 2082, 4 points right into the support resistance zone that I'll show you in just a second. And then we push, what do? We come right back up into the middle. Also, the other thing to note, I said after 11 a.m. that things can get a little sloppier, and sure enough, we have a little bit bigger extension down, we push back up, but really this is a directionless market. We're just sitting here. This is balanced with a slight, and I mean the slightest of downside biases. The other clue that we didn't cover here is that we are completely within the prior day's high and lows. That made making trading decisions pretty easy today. The last piece was the swing longs, and I'm going to look at the zones last, but where did we get the indications for swing long? Where did we get the indications for swing short? I'm going to go over that here really quick. Again, most of this was posted within the room. I didn't do a lot of public posting of the trades today, but right out of the gate on this very first bar, actually, I got an indication of swing short. There was a couple of caveats that came with it in the room, right? And again, this goes to risk management. Generally, I'm reluctant to take a trade in the first half hour with futures. Why? Because it tends to be a very unpredictable, volatile time of day, and I tend to do best sitting those out. So I took these with the options. I actually sold some 20, well, I think at the time these were 2080. We were trading at 2092, and I think I sold 2084 puts that expired later in the morning. We sold them for, if my memory serves, $86 a piece. Our risk was $14 per contract. I might be off a couple dollars on that execution, but that's close. We came down. We were able to cover these, I believe, at $68 a contract, and we basically took off the entire risk of that binary options trade. A few people actually took the futures trade here and were able to get a scale out, but there was an important reason. I've never had this before. Let's see if I can fix this. There we go. Okay. There's an important reason I did not take the futures, and immediately what followed was very important. And I think here's the deal with futures trading, or any trading for that matter. You learn just as much from what you didn't do as from what you did do, right? We did the perfect thing by taking the options, laying off the risk. The first half hour was hard. We had econ come out the top of the hour. We did not get run over to the upside. Secondly, right, we had this swing short was in effect, right? So for those of you who are not familiar with my swing trades, this is the bar that triggered that swing short. So we have the 4 stages of entry. So in this particular case, we moved up, first move down. This is the extreme entrance. There's a 50-60 retrace. This is 1, 2. The next entry would come up here if there was a zone up here, which there was. We never got to it. But this would be the 3rd entry. Then the trap back into the range. That is the 4th and highest odds entry. And that was this entry on this bar right here. Our trap point had moved up, and 2092.50 turned out to be our entry point, which was approximately right here. And we were able to garner 5 points on this move here. We started scaling at just past 2 points. I believe we took scales at 2, 3, and 5 points in the room. So what I want to get across to you, because I know everyone's watching this chart, right, was why was that important? A couple of reasons. First of all, we had the direction correct. Secondly, we took the appropriate risk early on by instead of taking the most aggressive trade with the futures and taking the heat, right? If we'd taken the trade right here at 2090, you had to take heat all the way to 2096. There's not many futures traders or day traders that like to do that, and understandably so. So we did not. Hold on one second here. Nothing yet. So we did not get run over with futures. When the highest odds setup came, which was right on this bar right here, when the highest odds setup came, we took it right on cue, and we were able to garner 5 points out of this trade. Why is that important? Well, if you look, the whole range was from 2088 to 2096. We were less than 10 points of total range. That means we were able to bag in our pocket over half the range on a profitable trade. The next thing that I did was very, very important. I said that when we were approaching lunch, and I put this out, I said lunchtime is the hardest time of day to make a trade. I don't want to trade here if I don't have to trade here. And what did I do? I immediately pulled the, covered my shorts, right? We had a small trailer left here. We covered it right in here. And so we didn't stand the chance of getting run over, right? And then we were, if you did take the long in here, that trigger was about 2090. And I said it was going to be choppy, right? And I would rather stay out. Look at this through New York lunch right here. It was very hard to make money in here. It really was. There was not a clean setup, okay? And we avoided getting crunched in any of this. It was, I can't explain what a big deal this is. to not get run over in here. Let's see if and then the last piece, end of day. We just stayed out of this, right? There's no reason to jump in. There was no reason to try to push to the short side. Excuse me one second. There was no reason to try to push to the short side of the lows. We already knew that we were in balance, right? And then let's translate this all over to the chart, right? Hold on one second. Let's erase all this. Okay. How did this translate onto the chart? So first of all, let's take out this this 2093.50. That was Globex high. Well, let's leave it. Just realize 2093.50 is Globex high, and this 2084 down here is Globex low. Okay, so if we look, if from the open, let's get rid of this. It's poorly auctioned, right? We push into a poorly auctioned area. We get the swing low. We get swing short, excuse me, but we're still generally in an uptrend. We don't commit here too early in the day. This is where the trap occurred, right? I highlighted it. 2092.50 was the entry. We get the push down. What does it push down? Right into our 2088, 2087, right? And we get responsive buyers there first time into the zone, right? We push down. Where's our next two trade locations? Well, the first one was this right here, was in this 2085 to 2084 area. And you can see the market held up in here for 15 minutes and offered no counter rotation. Notice that when we get into afternoon trading, the snaps become less discernible and they drive in one direction, right? See how we kind of have two-way markets up in here where we're snapping back and forth? Notice we lose all of that in the afternoon. We finally come into a retest of Monday's low. This is a virgin test of the zone. First time into the zone, rotates up for 3 points. I actually did not get a swing long signal here, and the market did make its rotation all the way back up to 2089. And when you think about it, if we're in balance, a break below, trap the shorts, right, and then a push back up. And then, of course, late in the day, we just continue with the balance theme. We move back to the middle, then responsive sellers push back down. Shorting the end of the day is not my cup of coffee for the most part. I did not get a signal to go long or go short in here, and so we just kind of rode out the afternoon. But we had two very good trades on the books, right? I had one long from 2090. I had one short from 2092.50. Both of them paid me well, and the zones also worked extremely well from the perspective of simply taking first touch of the zones. I wanted to say one more thing about that, and this is aimed directly at the people in the room. I realize that it can be a little bit challenging to distinguish when you are taking a swing trade versus taking a zone trade. And I think the formula I'm coming down to that's making it pretty straightforward and easy to handle. If there is a swing to the short side, like we had set up here, two things. First of all, you know not to try to, even if you had a long here, you know to try not to press it, right? This is likely to fail. We have a short side swing on. Sure enough, we just had to be patient and wait till we got our enemies trapped. We picked them off perfectly, and we got the push to the downside. First time back into this 2088.25, 2087.25, we covered into the zone. If you took a long, and several of y'all did in the room, no, it's a scalp. You take 2088.25, 2090.25, you're scaling, because this thing went nowhere after we got into the zone. You know, hey, I'm not going to try and push up to 2100 here, right? We did not have the swing. The swing long actually signaled at this 2090, but we did this beautifully, right? It's not black and white with the market. You know that the overriding quality of this type of market is that it's going to get choppy over New York lunch, right? So this becomes very easy. Even though we get a swing long, you still want to go ahead and take your profits off the table. And then from here, I had not a short nor a long, either way, right? And I want to avoid chopping when trading a choppy market when there's a non-directional move. So hopefully that made sense. I know I met my requirements, which is 1 to 2 profitable trades per day. I stayed out of trouble in the afternoon, and I didn't get stressed out trying to force a trade to work. So really, that's it. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. We were inside, right? We did not trade above prior day's high or prior day's low. Pretty much there's very little information. Market's building energy for a move down the road, and it was pretty typical summertime trading. I want to stress, do your homework, use your journal, right? If you had a losing day, go back and look at how you tried to execute the trade. If there's confusion, keep drilling down until you can get unconfused about what your specifics of what your entry should be. Okay? If you took trades out of frustration or out of a need to make money, don't ignore it. Write it down so that you can anticipate it the following day, right? Because there was profitable trades to be had here in the morning, and you didn't have to trade all day to get them, right? And tomorrow will be a new day. There'll be a new opportunity. The most interesting thing I saw today was that NQ. I do want to cover this. Look at NQ really quick, right? NQ was perfectly, this is a picture of perfect balance. I did a video, I posted it. This is a picture of perfect balance, right? Push to new low, push back to the middle. Pushed high established, push to new high, push back to the other end of the range. And then look in the afternoon. This is the definition of chop. And what will happen here is traders, particularly on NASDAQ, right? We're also addicted to NASDAQ. It's great when it runs. But this is where people get back a ton of money in NASDAQ. Is they might have caught this break yesterday, and here's the problem. How can you distinguish between this break on this day and this break yesterday? And let me answer that question. You can't. Okay, it's almost impossible. This break was pushed along by news that comes along very rarely. Middle of the day breaks are not to be trusted, and generally do not bet a lot of money on putting those trades on. And when you see balance, just sit quietly, do nothing. There's nothing to do. You captured the meat of the day, and then let everyone else kind of sit there and generate commission dollars for the broker. Does anyone have any question about that? I don't see any questions popping up. So I hope everyone had a wonderful day. You can't. I firmly believe everyone can succeed at trading. The first step is to stop losing money. Usually the first step in losing money, and I spoke to someone just this afternoon, having a written trade plan on your desk, not on your computer screen, right? Not somewhere in a journal sitting on the shelf, on your desk, and checking off that you are following your trade plan as you are trading makes all the difference in the world. And the other thing that I will remind everyone is that almost every top athlete in the world has some type of mentor, right, or coach outside of the regular coaching of their teams, right, to help them improve. And I think this is probably considering that we're trading against Paul Tudor Jones, I would encourage everyone, no matter who it is, obviously I'm not the best coach for everybody, but no matter who it is, get an accountability partner or get a mentor or a trading coach that can help you through the difficult parts of trading. I thought all the feedback I got in the room was really positive today, so hopefully everyone did well and was able to knock down one or two nice trades and move on. I don't see any questions, so I think I am just going to go ahead and shut everything down, guys. I'll see y'all tomorrow morning. I'll post the charts soon, and I intend to relax this evening. Talk to you later, guys.